Alright, let's talk about Pulp Fiction. This is one of those movies that people have been calling a masterpiece for years, and honestly, I could see why. If somebody asked me to explain the plot in one sentence, I'd probably fail. Not because it's confusing, but because, the story's not really about one big story. It's a bunch of different stories with different people and different conversations that come in to be one of the most entertaining movies of all time. And that's what makes Pulp Fiction so special, is that most movies are trying to get from point A to point B as fast as they can, and this movie could care less. I'll stop everything so two hitmen can argue and debate over foot massages and hamburgers, and somehow those are the two most memorable scenes in the film. So let's break down why Pulp Fiction still holds up today and why people still bring it up in the conversation of great movies. So why does Pulp Fiction still hold up today? I think the reason's actually pretty simple. It's because this movie's not trying to chase trends. When you watch a lot of older movies, you could tell what decade they come from. The clothes, the music, the way they talk, it all just feels like a time capsule. Pulp Fiction definitely has that 90s style, but it doesn't feel stuck in the 90s. It feels fresh. And I think that's because the focus has always been on the characters instead of what was popular at the time. Even if you've never seen the movie before, you remember these people immediately. Vincent seems like the guy that's good at his job until things go wrong. Jules seems like the toughest guy in the room until towards the end, and you realize he's probably the most thoughtful guy in the whole movie. Mia Wallace walks into a room and somehow takes over the entire scene without even trying. Even Butch, who's only in part of the movie, feels like a main character. That's hard to do. Most movies have one or two main characters. This movie has a whole lineup. Another reason this movie still works is the dialogue. You could take away half the action and I'd still watch. These characters can spend several minutes talking about something completely random and somehow you're still locked in. Nobody's giving huge dramatic speeches. Nobody seems to be trying to win an Oscar every 5 minutes. They're just talking. Sometimes they're serious, sometimes they're funny, sometimes they're arguing over something that doesn't matter at all. That's what makes it feel real. It feels like you're eavesdropping on a conversation instead of watching actors read lines. Then there's the structure. Not too many movies are still willing to, make movies this way today. Somebody dies, and then 20 minutes later they're alive because you skip backwards in time. It seems messy at first, but by the end, everything clicks into place. What's cool is the movie trusts you to figure it out. It doesn't stop every 5 minutes to explain itself. It lets you connect the dots. I think audiences appreciate that more today because it seems like every movie tries to explain everything. Sometimes it's nice just to have a movie say, pay attention. Another thing that keeps it feeling modern is the confidence. It never feels rushed. A lot of movies nowadays are scared that you'll get bored if something doesn't explode every 5 minutes. Pulp Fiction doesn't worry about that. It'll let two people sit in the car having a conversation. It'll let silence do some of the work. It'll spend several minutes building tension instead of rushing to the payoff. And somehow, those slower moments end up being some of the most memorable. The humor also ages well. This isn't a movie that constantly tells jokes. It just comes from awkward situations. Like people making terrible decisions or watching professional criminals panic when things don't go right. It feels natural. It doesn't feel forced. And because of that, the funny moments still land today. The soundtrack deserves some credit here too. There are some movies that you forget the music as soon as the credits roll. Not here. The songs become part of the movies. You hear a song and you instantly think of moments from the film. The style is another reason that people keep coming back to it. The camera work, the lighting, the suits, the dancing. It's the little things. And maybe the biggest reason it still holds up is the influence. And whether people realize it or not, they probably watched a bunch of movies inspired by Pulp Fiction. It's got its fingerprints everywhere. The way characters talk, the mix of comedy and violence, the flawed but cool criminals. So when people watch it today, it doesn't feel old, it feels familiar. Now, does that mean everyone will love it? Not necessarily. Some people will think it's too slow. Some people won't like that it's out of order. And if you want a ton of action in your movie, this movie probably isn't for you. But if you enjoy a great conversation, unforgettable characters, and a movie that isn't afraid to do its own thing, it's easy to see why people still call it a classic. Every time I watch it, I notice that I missed something than the time before. A little line, a small detail, a connection between characters. Best movies aren't always the ones that reveal everything on the first watch. They're the ones that give you a reason to come back, and I think that's exactly what Pulp Fiction does. It's entertaining the first time. It's even better when you know where it's going, because then you don't have to worry about the story. you could just focus on everything else. The writing, the performances, the conversations, the little moments that make these characters feel like real people. That's why even decades later, Pulp Fiction still feels like one of the coolest movies ever made. Not because it's trying to be cool, but because it never had to try in the first place.